This is the PC version of Gears of War 4. I usually run it on higher settings, but for the sake of this video, I didn't want to have a lot of frame rate drop happening. So I set it to medium settings with a couple of features turned off. I think it was lens flare and then motion blur, which I generally don't like anyway. If you look in the lower right, you'll see the stats. It's running at 60 FPS, and it says 1920 by 1080. However, the capture resolution I think was still 1920 by 1080, but I think the frame rate dropped to 30 for the capture. So you'll see the game's running at 60 throughout, but it captures at 30. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the visuals, which I think from a technical perspective, this is pretty good. It's well optimized on the PC. I can get it to ultra settings with the insane settings turned on as well. There's an insane option for, I think, depth of field and then screen space reflections. And on the benchmark, I'll still get 60 frames per second from that. So it's pretty well optimized, but for the visuals themselves, as far as the art goes, I think this is still, it's too brown, it's too gray, it's too something. Like, it's not realistic. And then it's not like inspired colorful art. It's like it's too flat to look at. So from a technical point of view, it's great, but to look at, I think it's unfortunately quite ugly. The single player campaign, it starts off a little slow, and then it picks up near the end of Act 1, and that goes good until the end of Act 2. But it seems like from Act 3 to the end of the game, they didn't know what to do, not just from a plot perspective, because the plot suffers that same issue a lot of reboots do, where it just kind of ends up rehashing a lot of things you already knew or that already happened, because they don't want to take the game out of the universe, so they just make it the same thing for the next generation, basically. So that's not really exciting. And then the gameplay, I don't think they ever knew how to do single player campaigns, to be honest. I enjoyed playing the originals, like, 1, 2, 3, and not Judgment, like screw Judgment, but 1, 2, 3 on 360. I liked them for co-op, but that was it. I liked them for co-op because you're playing with a friend. If you go to a bad movie with a friend, it's still fun to go with a friend. But the fact is, single player, they don't know how to make a single player campaign. They don't know how to do level layouts. They don't know how to do the art to make it interesting. The story is just a bunch of that hoorah military crap, which some people might like, but when you're playing a game and it's just that constantly loud and in your face and there's no finesse to it, it's more annoying than anything. And I think they just, especially near the end, they got carried away with the enemy placements. Like, there's one boss, it's like I think it's called the Snatcher. And what it does is it attacks you, and when it attacks you, you go down. And then it swallows you up and you're in its belly. And in order to break out of it, you can't do anything, but your teammates have to shoot at the belly to get you to break out. Otherwise, you die. And near the end of the game, they start throwing these things at you like crazy. And to me, this is the worst boss fight in the game, because I, for the life of me, cannot figure out how to effectively dodge all of its attacks 100% of the time. Like, there's a tail quill shot it does, which if it starts when you're out of cover, it's going to hit you and you go down. If it starts when you're near cover, you can get in cover and it'll probably not hit you. So it's kind of a 50-50 on when it uses that. If it decides to leap at you, you can't outrun it. You can't dodge roll away from it. I know there's no invisibility frames, but it's basically if it leaps and you're targeted, you're going down and you're in the belly. And I think they tried to force the belly mechanic because I thought it would be like a cool teamwork feature. Like, no matter what, someone's going to get in the belly on this fight and someone's going to have to break them out. But the issue is, if you're doing single player, the AI is really bad. Like, it's really, really, really bad. So there were a couple times where I'd be in the belly and I didn't even see my teammates shooting at the belly. Right, I'm just stuck in the belly. I can't do anything in the belly, which doesn't make sense. You're in there with your lance or whatever. You can't shoot, you can't chainsaw out. You're just stuck in the belly. And then I die because the AI did nothing. And then speaking of the AI, the thing that's confusing to me about this game is they said they were going back to the two-player co-op as kind of a Roots Gears thing. So I expected it to be two-player co-op like Gears 1, because that to me is Roots Gears, and then maybe Gears 2 as well. Whereas in that it was Marcus and Dom were the two people that you played for co-op, and then occasionally you would get other people in your squad, but it was like half the game was just the two people, and then half the game was, you know, like 4, sometimes 5 maybe, I think. But because over half the game, or at least half the game, was just two people, it made sense to just have co-op for two people. Unlike Gears 3, for example, where, you know, it's 4-player co-op, so you have 4 people the entire time. In this, you always have at least 3 characters in your squad, right? There's the new Marcus Phoenix type guy, and then there's the Coltrane guy, and then there's the girl, because they got to get that in, right? So there's the 3 characters. And player 1 is always a new Marcus Phoenix, JD. And then player 2 gets to pick between Coltrane, because it's another black guy comic relief character. They just redid that. And then they threw in a girl whose personality is pretty much 100% identical to, I think her name was Maria, Dom's wife. Like, I don't like the story, but I still paid attention to this. It's just not very well written. So you have 3 characters minimum through the entire game, and you can only do 2-player co-op. Like, it doesn't make any sense, so that even when you're doing co-op, you have 1 character that's always brain dead AI, and it would have been great to be able to get another buddy in there for 3-player co-op, because the biggest issue with the campaign, you know, I can deal with mediocre level design, I can deal with mediocre enemy placement, and how on the higher difficulties enemies just turn into bullet sponges. It doesn't get smarter to play, it just gets longer to do the same things. So I can deal with all that, but they had the ability in this for 3-player co-op, and they didn't do it for some reason. And aside from it being some really bizarre design choice where nobody internally said, hey, you know, why aren't we doing 3-player co-op? Because we have 3 players there all the time. This is totally possible. You know, someone probably saw it and didn't want to say it, because if it was an intentional design decision for the game to always have at most 2 people playing and then 1 AI, then someone didn't want to say something to the boss that did it and then, you know, have their neck on the line, because that's the way it works. But if it wasn't that, the only other thing I can think, because this is cross-platform, the other thing I can think is, with how hard they were pushing graphics on Xbox One with this, they might have tried 3-player co-op, and then went, we can't do this because of Xbox One. There's some limitation there where it's going to cause frame rate issues because it's feeding information to 3 people at once instead of just 2. So it's too taxing on that hardware to keep up with everything they're doing. That's the only thing I can think of, aside from it being a really, really bizarre design decision, because I think anybody that was playing this in the studio during testing easily would have seen this would be great as 3-player co-op. It would have been better as 4-player co-op. I don't know why they'd scale back, especially given their reasoning. You know, it makes sense if they did actually go back to 2-player roots, but they went to 2-player with an AI. So that's not Roots Gears. That's just some weird BS. So campaign, no, I didn't like it much at all. If we move on to multiplayer, this is where it gets really interesting. So Horde mode is, and it's basically a free-to-play system. So the game has credits in it now. So if you play like Hearthstone, that's basically what they've done here. They've copy-pasted the Hearthstone card collection system. So when you play, you earn credits. You use credits to buy the cards, or card packs. Card packs are how you get unlocks. Every 5 levels you get 500 credits. You no longer unlock things through leveling up in the game. Like before, it was like if you leveled up, you got a character. So you know, if I hit level 50, I'm getting this. If I'm hitting 60, I get this. It gave you something to shoot for. Now it's just you're leveling up to get credits to buy card packs. Card packs are total RNG, like any free-to-play card game you could play. Just like Hearthstone, you can scrap cards for like a minuscule fraction of their actual value, and then use all that scrap to make a card you actually want. However, the issue with Horde is, in order to upgrade your skills in Horde, you need cards. In Gears 3, you upgraded your skills by using things. So if you want to upgrade decoys, you built a lot of decoys. You want to upgrade turrets, you built a lot of turrets. It was a grind, but you got it through actually playing the game. Now it's, you get a card, and then to upgrade that card to the next level, you need 3 more of that card. So if you get a duplicate, rather than scrapping it, you got to save it to upgrade the card. And I think the next level is like 5 cards, duplicates for the next level, and then 7 or 8, and then 10, and then you got the max level card. So you need a lot of packs before you can start scrapping things to get the things you actually want, because to start off, you want to start upgrading your skills in Horde. And as far as Horde is concerned, if you stick to casual, you don't need cards. Like that's the bright side here. If you want a 1 to 50 casual Horde, you don't need cards. If you go to normal, hardcore, insane, the way it's tuned is things start taking so much damage if you don't have the abilities leveled up that you need to upgrade your cards in order to have an easier time clearing it. So if like hardcore insane, I don't think you can clear that with you know, a base class. And then by the time you get your cards upgraded and your character upgraded, clearing the game on hardcore at that point would be the equivalent of clearing casual Horde when you first started, if that makes sense. Because your character tuning for that difficulty would basically be equivalent. So there's no reason to go normal, hardcore, insane, aside from bragging rights, because the other thing they've done here to make it so that you want to buy packs as opposed to farming credits, because the earn rate is abysmal. The thing they've done here is it doesn't matter if you play casual, normal, hardcore, insane. The credit earn rate is exactly the same. You don't get more credits for clearing waves on the higher difficulties. So if you want to farm credits, stick to casual. And actually, if you want to farm credits, you probably want to just clear the first 10 waves, leave, then go back, clear the first 10 waves, leave, and just keep doing that, because you don't get a bonus, right? Like the credits you get for clearing wave 10 is only like 30 less than you get for clearing wave 50. And it says the average time to clear Horde mode is 45 minutes, but that's total BS. It takes, due to all the downtime between each wave, that you don't need 90% of the time. Like they could have put a skip button in that, you know, start wave right now, vote button. They didn't. But the downtime's so long. The first 10 waves will take you like, you know, 15 minutes. Then as the enemies start ramping up. So doing like a full 1 to 50, you're looking at 90 minutes to 2.5 hours, depending on your group. 90 minutes, I think, if you don't ever like have to like start a wave over. But you are looking at 90 minutes to 2.5 hours. And at the end of that full clear of Horde mode, your total credit rake will be, I think you get like 350 credits. This is ignoring level ups, because if you level up, you know, every 5 you get 500 credits. So ignoring that just from the Horde clear, you'll get about 350 credits, because I think on my, well, no, I know from my wave 50 clear, I got 86 or 87 credits. And then wave 1 is like 50 to 60. Or sorry, wave 10. And then 20, 30, 40 is like 60 to 70. So you add that all up, it's 350 if it takes you 90 minutes. As opposed to, or we'll say 2.5 hours, because that's going to be most people. 2.5 hours for 350 credits, which isn't even enough for a pack. Because a Horde pack is 400 credits. Because they wanted you to go buy it. Because what's that rate there? If it takes you 2.5 hours to earn less than the cost of a pack, and the pack's like, I think it's $1.50. It's $1.50 or $2. When they make it a free-to-play system, you have to look at that as an hourly wage. So 2.5 hours, it's $1.50 per pack. That means you're making like 65 cents an hour. So they completely demolished the mentality for playing Horde, because instead of playing Horde for fun to see how far you can get and then going to the higher difficulties to see how far you can get, it's all about farming credits to buy packs to unlock cards. And in Horde, it's totally, like, it totally benefits. Versus, you just get the skins. Like, I don't care about that. Like, it's like CSGO, like, you see people walking around with, like, the different weapon skins and stuff, and, like, I don't care. I've never cared about that, so if people get invested in that end, you know, that's their issue. I would still prefer if it was unlockables through leveling up or getting achievements. Like, if you beat the game on casual, you should get something. If you beat on normal, hardcore, insane, you should get something special. Because what it is now, if you go online and you see someone with a really rare character, because there's drop rates for these things, right? If you see a really rare character, it just means they got lucky, either because they opened like, you know, one of the free packs early on and they got it, or they spent a bunch of money until they got lucky, or scrapped a bunch to get that character. Whereas before it'd be like, oh, look at that, you know, that skin. This guy beat the game on Insane. He got this achievement. He's hit this level and then re-upped or whatever, right? That's all gone. It's just the free-to-play model. But like I said, like I go online, there's like the base skins. I do not care. I do not care. I'm not going to be buying those. I'm not going to be worrying about farming credits for those. It's just horde mode because it screws it up. You can't just play the game and enjoy it. You got to be what's the most efficient way to earn credits, because credits are how I get better at this system. And then to top that off, you got this thing in the game called bounties. And bounties are, if you've ever played like an MMO or like a Blizzard free-to-play, bounties are basically like dailies, which is you have like an objective to do in the game. When you do it, you get experience towards your, I'd say gamer tag level, not your character level. Because character level is like horde, your class levels up, so your account level is, if you ever 5 levels, you get 500 credits. Bounties will contribute towards that character, that account level to help you get credits, or they'll give you credits. So bounties are things you find in packs that help you get things to find more packs. So let that sink in. So you're farming for credits. If you're not buying them, you're farming for credits to open packs, hoping to get something you want. Instead, you might get 1 or 2 bounties, which are things that help you farm to get credits to go buy things you want, and then you get more bounties instead. Bounties shouldn't be in card packs. I don't think bounties should be in the game, and I don't think this system should be in the game at all, because it completely demolishes it. But if they're going to do bounties, bounties should be dailies or weeklies. Like, I think just every day they should give everyone a random bounty, and that's the one you get, because part of the problem bounties cause now is people will queue up for horde, get their bounty done, and then leave. So it's the same problem like what I was saying about farming. If you're going to farm horde for credits, leave after wave 10. You got people bailing after wave 10, because that's the best way to earn credits per hour, is just do wave 10, leave, do wave 10, leave, do wave 10, leave. That's a better use of your time for earning credits than doing the entire thing. If you got a bounty, you don't want to finish, or if you got a lot of bounties to get through, you don't want to finish an entire horde game. You go in, get the bounty done, leave, get a different bounty, go in, do that bounty, leave. Then you're abandoning people in horde, because there's no drop-in for horde. You can invite people from your friends list to join midway, but there should be an opt-in on the menu for people searching for horde to join a game in progress. And because it doesn't even matter, because it's not like starting a fresh game gets you anything that you wouldn't get from dropping in halfway through, because the credit rate is the same. Like I said, it just there's no difference. So the entire thing, it's messed up the horde aspect so much. Versus, I never really cared much about Versus and Gears. I didn't like it on console because shooters on console, like the whole reason the Nasher Rush thing became a thing on Gears is because that was easier. It was easier to learn how to wall bounce and then shoot someone point blank with a shotgun than it was to try and pull off headshots. Now on PC, I notice that people are trying to do the wall bounce thing. I can follow their head easily and just freaking one-shot them. Or, you know, if I'm using like a rifle or something, I can unload for a while and do more damage, and then they're dead before they get to me. So the Gears gameplay, a multiplayer that people always were like, oh, it's all about the shotgun rush. You get it on PC, and it's entirely different. Because the people that are playing that way are getting killed by people that are playing it like a regular PC shooter, which is all about the headshots. Because you can pull off headshots far easier in the PC version of Gears 4 than you can on the console. And I've watched some people play when they're playing with the controller in horde mode. Like if I die, you'll see in this, like I die and then the guy I'm following around is on stick, it's all janky because they don't have as much control. It's too slippery. And I'm not saying I'm the best Gears player. I'm not even like a great on PC gaming shooters. I'm probably just like painfully average. But then I play horde mode, which is designed for people using a controller on a console with a limited FOV and then 30 frames per second, so the input isn't as smooth. And then you play it on PC where you got 60 frames per second. I got the FOV at 100, console's probably 70, 75, 80 tops, so I see more. I can track heads easier. Like I said, I'm not the best player, but you might see it here. It's just far easier to not even have to get in cover because someone's at the distance. You don't have to get in cover, so you can pop up and take some time trying to line it up. You just stop, get it around their head, click once or twice, and they're dead. It's so much easier to get kills. And then on that, I'm going to move on to the cross-platform thing. So cross-platform is you can play with people, Xbox One, PC, they can play together in campaign co-op, horde, or versus co-op against bots. You can't do versus cross-platform, like PC can't play with and against Xbox One players, which I think is a good decision. Because if you look at horde, what I was saying there, it's so much easier to aim. And anybody who says it isn't, just, they're either just so bad at PC it doesn't make a difference, or they don't know what mouse and keyboard feels like for shooters. Because I've seen people on horde where they're playing with a controller, even on PC, when it has like a PC next to them, I can tell when they're playing with a controller. Because when I'm sniping or whatever, you see them out in your peripheral, because you have such a wide FOV, you see them like slowly spinning. Right? Like if an enemy gets on their butt and starts attacking them, they gotta turn around slowly to do that 180. And then sometimes by the time they turn around, they're dead. On PC, you get the indicator on their screen that you're being hit in the rear. You spin around in less than a second and you fucking pop that guy. So, I mean, this is not going to be a popular opinion, but if you're a half-decent PC gamer with the mouse and keyboard in horde mode, and then you go cross-plat and you get 4 console players, and then they have that limited FOV and everything, you're basically playing... I mean, it's like if you're playing like field hockey and you're the only one that's still got your legs, right? And the 4 other people on your team, you run faster than them, you can throw further than them because you can get more weight into the shot. It's just, well, lacrosse. I called it field hockey, but I was thinking lacrosse there. But that's what it is. You're the guy who's got all his body parts, everything's working, and then these 4 other console players are basically like handicapped people that showed up. And I know it's not going to be popular, but that's the reality of it. So when I look at it as a PC player, I want an option to say, looking for horde, PC players only, because that would be a lot easier of an experience than, oops, I got in a lobby where I'm the only PC gamer. Because there's been a couple times where I've been down but not out, and I crawl right up to someone, like right beside them, and I see them spinning around because they don't even see me, because their FOV is so low on console by default. I'm at their feet unless they move the camera down to look at the floor. They don't know where the heck I am. On PC, you always have such a huge field of view, and that's, like I said, that's still like you got the 60 FPS. You got the dot per inch advantage. You can control more with the mouse, especially if you got a gaming mouse. You can do more control over sensitivity. And then you got the wider FOV, so you see more stuff. So I have bled out at console players' feet because they couldn't see me to know I needed to get picked up. So why would I want to play with them? If they're a friend, sure, but when I'm doing randoms and I just want to make progress and have the smoothest experience possible, I don't want cross-platform play because I'm playing with a bunch of people who are missing their legs and have frickin' some sort of like eye disorder, because that's what it is. When PC has the superior FOV and console has limited, it's like someone who has 20/20 vision and then someone who's got bifocals is what it is. It just creates so many issues. So does cross-platform work in shooters in any capacity? For friends list only? Sure. But when you got it, when it's your only option, no, it's a hindrance. So giving a score to it, because I know that's like the obsession, and like all the time spent talking up to this is just going to be seen as a waste. I give it a 5 because like it's a great PC port. The horde gameplay, it's fun, but it's ruined by the card system. And then that cross-platform I just kind of went on about. I would honestly prefer a Gears 2 horde system where it's like no power-ups, no building, and then there's no card system. It's just you get in there and there's the guns and that's it. I prefer that over this free-to-play card bullshit. And I'd even prefer a horde mode that has no unlocks whatsoever. It's just the maps and how far can you get on this difficulty. Then this card bullshit because it completely ruins it. So 5 out of 10, and that's mainly because of the PC controls. If I was playing on like Xbox One with their 30 frames per second and the FOV, making it a problem to even frickin' just see what you're trying to shoot at, then having to do joysticks, trying to jangle around, get it on a headshot. No way. Like on console, it would be like a 3, and that's just losing like 2 points because of the tech and the control issues. I'd probably say a 2 actually. 2 points off for the tech and then 1 point off for the worst controls. Because even though the tech is impressive, it's not nice to look at. It's got a free-to-play system that ruins the multiplayer. I don't even think it's actual dedicated servers, because in this horde footage, it's probably looping now. We start the game and someone leaves, and someone leaves after that. That could be someone quitting, sure, but it's also probably the first guy disconnected. Because I've been in a horde game where you start, and then like 30 seconds in you get disconnected. That's not dedicated servers. That doesn't happen on dedicated servers when you're connected to the one that's on your coast. It doesn't. That's peer-to-peer. That there's some packet loss that happens because the guy hosting is on console, or he has an abysmal PC connection, and that happens, and that's how you get disconnects. So that ruins it too. And then the final thing to touch on is this is basically an always online outside of the campaign, because let's say you wanted to do Horde single player or Horde local co-op without online, right? Like you don't want to get other people involved. You still need to be online to play that. Like if you try to do, let's say you don't have a gold membership on Xbox One and you want to play Horde offline, you can't. You want to do versus against bots offline, you can't. Because you got to connect to the server to create your private server to play against bots or split screen with friends against Horde. That's always online. And then for some people that don't want Xbox Gold and they bought this to do local, the multiplayer stuff local, they got to get Xbox Gold to not even play online just because the game is an always online title outside of the campaign. And it doesn't make any sense. It's just the typical Microsoft BS, and I'm sure they love reviews like this because it's such a boost for them to know they're putting a product out there that's got all these issues and they're still going to make a lot of money. Because they are. Like there's so much potential for this to be good, but there's all these massive like bitter BS greed things going on that just ruins it. And they love it because that's why they're so big. That's why they're so big. So 5 out of 10 PC. I can't even like I looked at the footage I captured. It's 30 FPS, and I'm like, how could anyone play with that? So Xbox One, I'd say 2 out of 10 because 2 off for the tech and then 1 off for the controller because it's the same thing. Not 60 FPS. How can you do it with a shooter? I played shooters in the friggin' 90s. Half-Life 1, I played it at 60 FPS. Like it's not a new thing. It's just drop some features or make it a toggle like a, what was that game Last of Us had on PS4, 30 FPS mode or 60 FPS. You gotta get that in there. Because Horde and campaign 30 FPS on console would just be unplayable. Same with playing with a controller. I just don't get it. 2 out of 10 Xbox One, 5 out of 10 PC. And if you're looking at getting this, I'd say wait for a sale, although it's Microsoft and it's Gears of War 4, so it's gonna be a while. But just know there's a ton of shit going on with this, ruining what could have been like it could have been the best shooter multiplayer wise, could have been even on PC, and they just ruined it.